What does it take to become a champion? I'm Penny Lane and In the Driver's Seat starts now. Welcome to In the Driver's Seat, where we delve into the lives of extraordinary individuals who drive their industries forward. In this episode, we explore a former racing legend's journey from winning titles to shaping the next generation. Joining me now is champion, motocross rider, coach and TV personality, Lee Hogan. Hello, Lee.
Hi, Penny. It's great to be in here.
Thanks for coming in. I'm loving the get-up. You look great in your Honda gear.
I'm looking very red, aren't I? I don't know how the colour works or if it's good with the complexion, but it's my colour.
It's great. Now, you started your career really early, didn't you? How old was you when you won your first motocross championship?
Yeah, look, I started racing at the age of 8. I got my first bike a year prior, but racing started at 8 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, I won my first championship, my first full year of racing. So there's a bit of luck involved with that one. So I'm not going to fully claim it, but yeah. So it was off to a good start, and then we set a precedent that I had to try to keep up.
Yeah, well, you did have a really successful junior career, and it wasn't long before you decided to quit school and turn this into a career. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as far as school goes, I did have plans on finishing off high school. I got to the end of year 10, which I know overseas, America, it's not really accepted too much over there. But back here, if you were going to go into a trade or, become a plumber or a woodworker or whatever it might be, you'd finish year 10 and then you could start your trade school, etc. So I finished year 10, but at the end of that year, I was kind of given the ultimatum from Kawasaki, who was my sponsor at the time, that if you wanted to have a professional factory team ride, you needed to quit your school and treat this like a job, and so hence why it all started at that period. Yeah, so end of year 10, I dare say, I think I was around that, just turned 16.
Yeah, and what did your family think when you were going to be starting a career in motocross?
Well, they didn't really mind too much, because for me, I was about to start a sign writing apprenticeship, I thought, and I actually did start. I did a couple of months of the sign writing apprenticeship, and then when this offer came to me, it made the decision very easy, because I always knew that that's what I wanted to do. I'd been racing since I was 8, 9 years old, and travelled all around the world, raced in America, World Mini Grand Prix, etc. So I knew that was my path I wanted to go down. So to get offered that job, so to speak, it was pretty cool. Yeah. So I grabbed it, grabbed the bull by the horns and gave it my best shot, and things sort of snowballed from there.
And what was your biggest successes while you were with that team?
Look, when I rode for Kawasaki through all of my junior career, I was lucky enough I got 7 national junior championships in a 5-year period. So I had a good run through juniors. I think probably my thing I'm most proud of was when I just turned 17, I won the first round of Mr. Motocross, which was against the Craig Dax, Glenn Bell, those type of riders. So I think I was the youngest rider to win a Mr. Motocross round in that premier class. So I think that was probably at those early years my proudest moment, I think.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you went to America at a young age. Was it Las Vegas that you went to?
Yes, so there were two major stints for America. My first one was a quick trip at the age of 12 to do the World Mini Grand Prix. My family came over and we went and did the usual, you go to Disneyland, you go to Universal Studios, you do all that kind of stuff. That was just a one-off trip, and I had an absolute blast. But my next trip to America, I lived there for 6 months, and that was when I was 17 years old. So I got to race Anaheim Supercross, San Diego Supercross. I got to do a lot of big events over there. That was a massive changing or turnaround point of my career, because when I left Australia, I was around 8th or 9th in the country. I left for 6 months, turned into a bit of a cocky kid and come back with all this confidence, and then all of a sudden I was number 1 or 2 in Australia. So it fast-tracked everything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had a bit of a bad attitude come along with it, but it sort of fast-tracked where I wanted to be.
Everyone likes a bad boy, and if you're racing motorbikes, it kind of comes with the territory. I'm sure your wife's calmed you down now.
Yes, she has. She's the yin to my yang. She balances me out perfect. Yes.
So did America change your style of riding? Because it couldn't have just been confidence. There must have been more to it.
No, I don't think it was so much my style that changed. I think it was my self-belief. So,
right.
And I think I guess the term, it's called the process of adaptation, it's called. So if you're over here and you're used to getting 2nd or 3rd place and maybe battling for a win, and you go to America and you drop yourself in the pond over there and all of a sudden you're 10th or 12th place, and you decide you don't like that and you want to be battling for the win, all of a sudden everything has to change. You've got to change the way you think, your speed on the track. As you get faster on the track, your mind needs to tick along at a faster rate.
Oh my gosh,
you need to look further ahead and spot things as they happen. So I think what happened for me was I got my butt handed to me as I first went to America, and over that period of time I slowly started to adapt to that new speed and realised that I could battle with these guys. And then when I came back home again, I'd changed into what was a normal pace for me. I could go at a different pace. Fantastic. And that pace just happened to be around the pace of what the leaders were doing back here in Australia.
Supersonic pace.
Yeah, so it worked really quite well, and yeah, it didn't really take me too long coming back to Australia before I got the attitude back in check again and wasn't as much of a smart ass anymore.
Australia will do that.
Yeah, I'll bring you straight back down to earth again. So
one of the things I love about here. And who did you race for when you came back from America?
When I first came back from America, I was still racing for Kawasaki. So during my trip over there, I was on Kawasaki in America, came back, still raced for them, and that's when I had that success at Mr. Motocross when I was 17 years of age. That was my first race after I got back from America.
And when did you start racing? Craig Dax, you mentioned before, he's an absolute champion in his own right. When did you start racing under him? Yeah,
so Craig Dax, that's a bit of an interesting story with Dakar, because he retired from racing in 1992, and at that point in time he was number 1 in the country, and still he was the champion. I was this young kid that was 10 years younger than him, but one of his main competitors, and could occasionally take it to him and beat him in a moto here or there. But I got the phone call from Craig Dack while he was still racing me. So I think we were in between rounds racing each other. When I got the call from Dakar, I'm like, Dakar, what are you doing calling me? And he's like, well, here's the thing. I'm retiring from racing at the end of the year. I'm taking over the ownership and managing of the Yamaha factory team, which of course ended up being CDR Yamaha. And he said, my first job is I want to sign you as my number 1 rider for next year. And it was really quite weird getting that phone call from him while we were still in the middle of a championship battle, for him to sign me for his team for the next year.
He knew you were good competition then. Who won that race?
Yeah, look, he won the championship. I think I got him a couple of races or whatever, but he retired from our sport on top as national champion. Yeah. But then the following year, when I got to race for him, being the Peter Jackson Yamaha team, we had a fantastic year, and I got to win the main MX1 Outdoor National Championship for him in his first year as running the team. So he must have 30 or 40 championships now as a team leader. And well, he won a lot himself as a rider, but as a team manager, he must have 30 or 40 championships. So many, I would hate to even try to guess. But I was lucky enough in '93 to get that first title for him as a team manager.
That's fantastic. And he didn't go easy on you, did he? Tell us about the race where you were quite proud of yourself and he wasn't.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny story. I still have a very vivid memory of how it went down. It was the first round of the Supercross Championship in 1993. And I came in not really expected favourite to win the championship. They thought I'd probably get second or third. And the first round of the year at Newcastle, I was involved in a first turn crash, and a bunch of us went down.
Oh gosh.
And I got up, and I came from dead last with a bit of a bent up bike, come through the pack and ended up finishing 4th place. I nearly got onto the podium. But I mean, if you had have asked me prior to that race how I thought I'd go, if you had have told me I was going to get a 3rd or a 4th, I probably would have been pretty happy. So I was kind of over the moon, and I was there with my mechanic in the back of the CDR Yamaha truck, and we're having a laugh and joking, and you know, pretty stoked with ourselves for coming from last through to 4th place. And Dakar comes in the truck and said, "Well, what do you laugh? What are you so happy about?" You know, and I'm like, "Well, I thought that was a pretty good charge." And he said, "I don't pay you to go from last place to 4th. You know, we got a championship to win." And I said, "Oh, I just thought it was a good ride." And he said, "Well, it was a good ride, but that's not what you're here for." And so that
love, did that motivate you?
It did. It gave me a massive shifting of my foundations of where I thought I needed to be and how I should conduct myself and what was expected, which was a good thing, even though I was pretty upset with Dakar at the time. And he'll be the first to admit that he was a bit of a different team manager back in those early years, trying to micromanage everything. I wasn't real happy with him, but what it did is it changed my thoughts on how to conduct myself and what was expected. And I ended up going on a run of winning 3 Supercrosses in a row after that. I still probably was a bit pissed off with Dakar as well. So I got over it eventually, but I must say that was a massive change of the way that I thought about things and my own expectations. Yeah.
Yeah. And so after Dakar, who did you go to next? Because you're at Honda now?
I was Honda, yeah. So I changed from CDR Yamaha to Honda and had a very close relationship with them, won some championships for them, ended up getting the 500cc national championship for them, and I got to race overseas, raced the Motocross of Nations in Switzerland. We had a really good time with Honda. I got to race for a few different teams throughout my time. I must say that as a racer, I probably wasn't quite as stable as I've been since I stopped racing. Since I've stopped racing, I've been with Honda since 2006, and I don't want to go anywhere. I feel no need to go anywhere. But as a racer, I chopped and changed around a little bit. I was with Kawasaki for 8 or 9 years straight. But then from that period, I was Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki, back to Honda. It changed around a lot.
Yeah, you've got to be brave for change though, and it's definitely, you've got to be brave to do the sport that you're in. I can't believe we're almost out of time. I've got about another 20 questions for you in my head.
No worries.
Now, just one last question. If anybody's out there and you've got so much life experience and you've faced so many challenges and injuries and anything, if you had to give some advice to somebody that wanted to change their lives and move in the right direction and get out of the circumstances that they're in, what would it be?
I think my best advice would be to work hard. Work ethic is something that, it doesn't matter who you are. So many times I've seen talented riders that just don't work hard enough. If you have drive and desire and you want to get up earlier and start earlier and then finish later and go that extra mile, it doesn't matter what it is, you'll go a long way no matter what. It's so much more valuable than having natural God-given talent that you had no say in or no right to be able to claim because you didn't work hard for it at all.
I absolutely agree. Thank you so much for coming in, Lee.
Pleasure.
It's been great chatting to you.
Thanks for having me.
In the Driver's Seat is brought to you by the Perfect Cosmetics Company. Join me next time to learn from more industry legends about how you can take the wheel and steer your life in the right direction. This is Tika, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Tika. We'll have more in just a few minutes.